And we're back, and it's COMP305. That's Game Programming 1. It's the winter 2016 semester, and it's week 6, part 2 of our broadcast. And we just finished preparing for our movement. We created this funky layer mask thing, and as I was explaining to people on the break, think about this is I'm checking my layer, right? If it's the ground, that's how I want you to read it, all right? And I was not saying that. If it's the ground layer, then this one, think about this as setting this whole thing, this whole line, the result of this part to true, which I'm going to assign to the isGrounded Boolean variable. If it's not the ground, it'll be false, right? So he won't be grounded. Okay, that's what's going to happen here. Okay, let's test for this. Let's do a couple of things. Let's do debug.draw. I like to do debug.draw too, because the debug.draw, what it'll do is it'll show us our position, right? So let's do this. We'll say debug.draw, and I want to do a draw line, right? And I want to draw a line from the start to the end. Well, I can use the same stuff. So from transform.position to this ground check position, I want to do a line that shows me that object. So when I say debug, just wait till we do debug.log. Debug.drawLine draws a line, physical line, right? So we can see it in our scene. Let's try this out. So if everything went well, if I play my game now, I don't see it here, but in my scene view, I'm gonna see if I can zoom in here so you guys can see this. Here's the line, right? See that line? The line, even though the character is animating, right, is the line moving? I got to be very careful to see if this is grounded or not, right? So right now the line isn't moving, right? And if I was to, make the character move or whatever, this line would move. So if I moved over here to the corner, I'm good. But just once I skip out of the corner itself, I'm not grounded anymore and I can't move. This would be a problem, right? So I got to be careful how I do this thing properly, right? Okay, so we'll talk about this in a second. How this is a problem. Notice it goes from here, like I drew it, down to here. So it draws that line. Okay, let's go back. So now that we have this idea of this ground that we're drawing on, let's test to see if this is grounded or not. So I'm going to say, we'll do right here in our test, if, and we'll move it later on, this underscore is grounded. So if it's true that this person is grounded, then what I want to draw down here, this is per frame, right, is debug.log to test, right, before we actually use it in our code. To test if he's grounded, we'll say grounded, right? Otherwise, we'll do an else, right? If he's not grounded, we'll say not grounded. We're going to see a lot of debugs, right? Or a lot of console entries. So debug.log, not grounded. Just to shore up some of our stuff on the console, let's get rid of some of the stuff we already got in here. Like I've already got some debug information in here, right, that I'm showing out. For example, whenever I move, right, I go do a debug.log this jump, right? I don't care about that anymore, so let's get rid of that on line, around line 78. And there's also any kind of other debug.draw I want to get rid of. Right? Okay, let's try this out. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back to the game and press play, right? And let's see what happens with the game. So he's there, and now it says grounded. Take a look, right? So if I go to my console, grounded, right? But if I go to the top, he starts off as not grounded. See, because he falls down. So it's not grounded, every frame until he lands on the ground. Now he's grounded. Okay? So two things are happening here. It's not just the collision physics. He's not going to fall off the ground. He just can't jump or run when he's not grounded anymore, right? He can't jump or run. Now you might say, well, that's a problem. It's not really a problem because he's going to have forward momentum, right? So he's going to still move forward, right, when I put force to him. So even though he's not grounded, he's going to fall off the edge of the cliff, right, if it's so close to his feet. So don't worry. Okay, so grounding works. We know that it works because we have this console telling us that he's grounded, right? All right, so let's get rid of that. Let's go back to our effect here. And we don't need to test this anymore. But this kind of test is what we're going to do down here, right? So what I want to do is check to see if the character is grounded. So if I know he's moving, and if the character is grounded, right, I'm pressing the buttons, but only when the character is grounded do I want anything to take effect. Even if I'm pressing the buttons, right, and if the character is not grounded, think about my conditional statement I'm talking to. We're solving a problem here. I don't want the character to, I don't want to apply force to the character unless he's grounded. How do I code that? If is grounded, then check to see if he's moving. If my buttons are working. If he's not grounded, who cares what my buttons are doing? Don't even check my buttons, right? So that means that down here where I did all this, right, for jumping and all that stuff, I'm going to check to see if I'm grounded first. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, just like I did up here, where this piece is grounded, let's just copy this piece and put it down here, right? And instead of checking to see if I'm grounded, I want to check to see, I want to put all this stuff for the move, right, inside here, inside the is grounded piece. If I'm not grounded, I don't care about that. If I'm not grounded, don't do anything, right? So all I care is if the player is grounded. I can jump and run if the character is grounded. So all this, right? So the anim state and all that kind of stuff. This part here, this move, right? And this jump down here, right? I can only do it if I'm grounded. So let's do the move. So I'm going to copy this whole move or cut it. And I'm going to, instead of it being grounded, I'm going to paste it in here. So this is the only time for the move, and I'll do the jump later on, where I'm testing to see if he's grounded or not. Right? Hey, in that particular case, I might as well put all this stuff from my test inside this is he is grounded kind of situation, right? So I'm going to kind of take this piece out and put that in my is grounded area as well. That way I'm not checking my input access unless the character is grounded. I won't be able to touch the character in this particular case. Now there's some advantages and disadvantages to this, right? We're going to live with it. And I'm going to right click and I want to format my code, right? Let's leave it as it for now. Okay, cool. So I saved everything and let's just check to see if that works. So I'm going to press play and then I'm going to try and move him. And notice that he didn't move, right, in here, but he's going to continue to move now, right? Why? Because I never shut that off. So let's go back to fix this. Remember that I get my axis vertical and horizontal, and I say this dot animator set integer to the anim state 1, right? This piece here, right? Because of the way I restructured everything, right? Because I put the else attached to this, which is not what I wanted. I want it to be in here. Let's undo the changes. So I'll show you what I'm talking about. Here's my absolute body, and I'm going to undo these changes so they're back to normal, right? I've moved this into there, and what I should have done, right, is check to see what I'm doing here first, right? For example, this is an else. And I'm checking somewhere else, right? Because this .anim state is this, but where's my if statement? It's this, actually. This is what it really looks like. So the if statement starts up here, right? So I go if, else. If, else. This whole thing needs to be there, right? Not just that piece that I took for one and done, right? So that means all of this needs to be put inside there. Not to the piece I copied. So I'll just copy this whole piece. So I made a mistake. Put it back in here. And now it'll be better. Let's try this out. And I also want to check this piece here. So go do that piece of it as well. And then I'll update to GitHub for you guys. All right, and then I'll undo, take away these pieces and add some spaces just from a coding perspective. Okay. So what I'm saying is are you grounded? And let's check. Let's do some comments here. So check. Ensure character, the player is grounded, before any movement check. Right? He's grounded. If he's grounded, then we check to see if he's moving, right? Now we can check if he's moving. If he's moving, right, then we change his direction, but we also want to import force. And this is where we put force. So movement force here, right? This is where we're going to put it. And we're also going to put, I'm just using pseudocode, and we're going to put movement force here, right? And we're going to play a clip for the animation state for the moving clip. Otherwise, he's not moving, so he's idle. Otherwise, check to see if he's jumping. So we're going to say, call the jump clip, but also put in some movement force here, right? Which is going to be the jump force. Jump force. So if he's jumping, jump. He's moving, move, right? And he's not going to do any of that unless he's grounded. Let's save that and try it again. So notice that I can do this now because he's grounded. But when I was in space, let's try that again. It's kind of fast. When I was in space, I'm pressing it, but nothing's happening. Even if I'm pressing the buttons, he's not going to show his animation when he's jumping. I'm only going to show the jump animation, right, while he's in the air. So I'm only going to show it once. It's going to go like this. Now this is tricky for the jump part because if I'm not grounded, I'm not showing the jump animation and I'm not checking for jump. I can only jump once. So it's going to go like this. It's going to show the jump animation and then just really quickly, and then it's going to stop. That's what's going to happen. So I got to some timing has to be done here for jumping or not. Okay. And the other challenge to do is this. Maybe I'll always show the jump animation when he's falling, right? Here's the other thing. Or if he's jumping. That's the other thing too. So if he's falling down, I'll show the jump animation, but when he lands, I'll make him idle, right? Let's do that. So here's my jump animation. If he's jumping, right? If my jump is greater than 0, I'll show this, the jump animation, right? That's cool. My jump force will be there. But what I'm really saying is, if I'm not grounded, show the jump animation, because I wouldn't be grounded if I'm falling or jumping. So show the jump animation. Oh, I'll make my little feet like that go when I'm falling, and I'll make my feet like that go when I'm jumping, okay? So that means I won't call it here, right? And if I show you this, what I'm talking about is, notice that my if statement starts here, right? Here's my if statement. And this is where it gets confusing. I've got my if for this one, and I've got this if else for this one, but my if statement ends right about here, which is where I want to put my else. And in here, I want to do, the jump clip. So I'm going to kind of cut this out, put it in here. And I only want to import jump force, right, into this thing. So that means when I'm not grounded, show my jump clip. Let's try this out. I'm going to stop this, press play again, and now you should see the jump clip. See? And when I fall again, if I was to fall off, you're going to see the jump clip again if I'm not grounded anymore. Tricky, because if I'm on the edge and my little line that connects me with the ground is just at the edge, I'm going to show myself going like this. Whoa, right? Okay. Some interesting animation and there's interesting effects. Okay, now force. So now that I've got this, the jump force ahead, I'm going to say this. If my moving value is greater than 0, and then I'm going to check if my absolute value is less than the velocity range, right, of maximum velocity range, then what I want to do is I want to take the speed, right, and add it to the force, right, my force x, which is going to be my temporary variable. And then at the bottom somewhere, I want to add the speed, right, to my object. So I want to take that force x and force y right at the bottom of my code, of my update, and I want to set that up. Okay, let me show you what I'm talking about here, because I want to set this up. So here we go. So here's another if statement. If absolute velocity that we're checking the absolute velocity of x, right, is less than, right, this dot velocity range dot maximum. So the maximum velocity. If it's less than the maximum velocity, right, then what do I want to do here, right? If it's less than the maximum velocity, I want to say something like this. I want to say our temporary variable force x, right? Because this is our temporary variable. It's right here, force x, right? Then force x is equal to something. What is it going to be equal to? It's going to be this dot speed, right? And it's going to be, if you notice, it's we talked about speed, right? move force or jump force is really what I'm talking about, move force, right? Our movement force, right? Which is going to be, I said 50 or something like that, right? So that's the first thing. And then the other thing is, I'm checking to see if my facing right is true and all that kind of stuff, right? If my absolute velocity is maximum is less than my my absolute velocity x. Absolute velocity x, again, it takes my total velocity, right? So let's say I'm 550, and as long as it's less than that, right, then I assign the force. If it's greater than it, I ignore it. That's what I'm doing, okay? And I want to put these two checks here, this facing right and this flip. I want to put it in here too, because I don't want to change my force unless I do that. Let's leave it out, and we'll see the effect of it, okay? And we'll put it back later. Okay, that's cool. I want to do the same thing for this one, right? So I'm going to say, I want to kind of do the exact same copy. So I'm going to do the thing right here. I'm going to copy this line here, and I'm going to go down into this piece. Here's my movement force, right? And I'm going to say this. I'm going to say, if my absolute velocity is x is less than the maximum again, my force x is a negative movement force because I'm going to move to the left. All right? Okay, so that's my negative movement force. I haven't applied my negative movement force yet. That's one. All right. Now, if my absolute velocity y, right, we're going to check the same thing when I'm on the ground. So when I'm doing my up force, my jump force, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to say, if my absolute velocity y, right, my y, is less than the velocity maximum, like I can't go faster than that velocity range, right, the maximum velocity, right, then my force y is the jump speed, right? That's what I'm going to do here. So my force y is equal to the jump speed, which is, what do we call it? Jump force, right? Is equal to the jump force. The only time that I'm moving is if it's true, right? Finally, at the bottom of all this craziness, right? And before the end of my stuff, after I've changed all this stuff, I'm going to apply this underscore rigid body 2D, right? So I'm going to add force. I'm going to use the add force method. Here's my force, which is a new vector 2 object, right? Here we go. That's going to include force x and force y. So at the bottom, I'm doing this. Okay, so apply the forces. Here's what I'm going to do. Apply the forces to the character, to the player. Okay, so why am I doing all this way? Why am I'm first assigning it here, and then applying it down here. If I didn't do that, I have to apply it multiple times, and I only need to apply it once every frame. Otherwise, I'd be applying it a bunch of times per frame, and I'd be writing over everything. So let's check this out and see if it works. So I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back here and press play. And let's see if I didn't make a mistake. Now, if I tap the button, right, I'm applying a force, but I'm not really moving anywhere, right? I'm not really moving anywhere. If I apply the up force, as an example, here's my up force. I'm not really moving anywhere. How come? Well, you have to understand what's happening here at the bottom to see what this is, what it's doing, right? Because remember, we're getting our rigid body 2D, right? Well, let's take a look. If I'm in here, what I'm doing is, and again, if you look at it, I'm saying at the bottom, add force, my new vector, force x and force y, right? And I'm only going to get this vector, force x and force y, if I'm grounded, right? So a good way to check this out is to see what my force x and force y is every frame. So let's try this out. So I'll say console.log or debug.log force x. Right, let's try force x for a second. And let's make sure we don't have any other debug.logs, just that one, right? So I have a debug.log and a debug.draw line. And I do that only because I don't want to I don't want to kind of clutter up what's going on. So save everything, go back here and press play. And now we're going to see a bunch of zeros. Watch. So it's got 0 here. But if I apply a force, my force is 50. Look, force is minus 50, right? Force is 50. No force, right? So it actually does run. Take a look. I'm showing that I'm moving. It's adding the force to 50. How come my rigid body 2D, right? I'm adding a force to my rigid body 2D, but it's not working, right? Notice I've got freeze rotation on here. I got my collider and everything else, right? My move force is 50. That's the default. What if I added more force? You'd say, you know, whatever. The other thing to check is, I'm just going to put this down here for you guys to see, right? My gravity scale is 100, right? Gravity scale is 100. If I was to make my gravity scale 1 for a second, let's just move this gravity scale to 1 and save it, right? Let's actually just try this out. I move my gravity scale to 1, right? And now I press my forces, right? Now look how I'm moving. Whoa, right? I'm going to move all the way to oblivion. It's going to fall down really slowly. What happened there? How come I was able to move, right? Let's try this again, right? So you can see it. My gravity scale is 1. When it's 100, right, I can't move. But when my gravity scale is 1, right, I can do one of these, right? I can kind of, whoa, he's going to fall. That's why it's doing it low, and that's what his fall will look like. But I want this to happen faster, right? Let's try this out a little bit more, right? And even then, my force being 50 was totally messed up. It didn't do anything. Okay, so that means 50 is the wrong number, right? Let's move this to 500, right? Now we got our jump force at 500, and by the way, jump force at 500. At 100 gravity scale, it's not going to be enough, right? But let's try this out, right? So let's try this at 500, right? Oh, he's barely making a scratch on everything else. Well, wait, my velocity force stayed at 50 for some reason. Hold on. 500, move force. 50. How come? Man, that's terrible. I don't want that to happen. Guys, I'm pointing this out because, you know, you'd think that your character's not working, and yet we're getting forces, right? But the forces aren't enough, right? So here's my move force and my jump force, my default values. What do I want to do with these? Right? Or at least change them. If I'm going to put them, I'll put them in one place. Okay, good. Here's the other thing. Here's my velocity range, 300 and 1,000. You got to be careful about this. This might be wrong too, right? All right, so I got rid of those. Let's try this out again and see what happens. So back down to here, press play. I got 500. Does it go back? Hey, it's cool. And if I press forward, I'm moving a little bit and I'm falling pretty good, right? So that's kind of cool. I'm getting better. 500 seems to be a little better, right? Because 500 is like 50, but it doesn't really match up with the forces that are being. I can push this too. Look, I'm kind of pushing this object, but my object seems to be like crazy, really hard to push, and it's like, oh. I stop right away, watch. Oh, right? That's good. So let's add more of a force. Let's make this 1,000, right? 1,000 units of force. Okay, let's try this again. Oh, okay, that's cool. That's pretty cool. Okay, so 1,000 units looks like it's a little better, right? Let's try this out. And 1,000 units of force this way. I can push the block. Whoa, and I fell off, right? So that's kind of looking pretty good. All right, so 1,000 units seems to be okay. Does it match with his feet walking? So 1,000 units of force? Yeah, it's not bad. 1,000 units of force is okay. Let's try and put 1,000 units of force for his jump force now to make sure he's jumping. Because, you know, so far we don't have a jump at all. Let's just, you know, play that one. So jump up, can't figure it out, and he's falling. So my velocity range here is 300 and 1,000. I got to be careful because I'm checking the velocity range. My jump force is 1,000, but I need to make it a lot higher, right? So we got to be careful here when I make it, right? So 1,000, and if I put 1,000, that means my right force is going to be more than 1,000 too, right? And I probably should, because that means my minimum and my maximum are the same. So let's change this to like 5,000. We'll go back, but that means going back to my code really quickly, that I got to change this number over here, right? Because this can't be 1,000. I'm setting it in my start method. So even if you do anything whatever about it, it's the same. So let's move this to 5,000. You're like, holy crap, 5,000. Yeah. And let's move this to 5,000. It's a lot of big numbers, but you'll see what I'm talking about. All right, cool. Let's see what happens now with my jump force. Right? Oh, okay. Whoa, whoa. Okay. Still not enough, right? How come it's not? Oh, see how I just raised up? Oh, he's just barely. Okay, let's try another value. Let's try instead of 5,000. Let's go to 20,000. Huh? But didn't I change the jump force? No, I didn't. All right, let's change the jump force to 5,000. Right, and let's change that and press play. Thank you for that. Jump force. Whoa, whoa, oh, hey, hi, my name is Tom. It's pretty good, right? And if I jump, okay, but that jump is so small and so silly. I need to make this like 10, right? That's why I said 20, but 20 was going to be too much, right? It's our scale, right? That's what you have to think about. So here's our jump. Our force is 10,000, right? And we have to change it here too. And then we have to also go and change our jump force to 10,000. So we'll change this to 10,000. Right? And then we'll place play. And again, these are exaggerated values, but now I got a bit of more, right? Even at 10,000, right? I can run. I got a bit of sliding power going on. Hold on a second, let me show you this again. Right? I can fall nicely. The falling looks nice. My jump force is no good. Let's try this again, make sure that that's not changed back. So my jump force is 10,000. Let's make this 20,000. Here, check it out, right? That's a little better, look. Right? So, there we go. Uh-oh, what's going on here? How come it's doing this on top of the block? Because it's not ground. Because it's not ground, I'm stuck. I can't move because my crate isn't the ground layer. But I should make it a ground layer, yeah? Because I should be able to jump on top of it, right? Otherwise, it's going to show that I'm up here. So 20,000 is the right value, it looks like, to me. Maybe we should make it 30,000, right? I'm just saying. And then let's go back to my forces for a second. Just curious. I'm just going to make it so that whatever it is. Let's make this so it's 30,000. Remember, it's 100 times. Once you put that 100 gravity in, and you know what it does, right? Here's 30,000. And let's try the jump first before we change the jump force to make sure it's real. Whoa, here we go. Oh, right, so it's a pretty big jump. Maybe not too, maybe that's too much, huh? And I can't do double jump. Notice if I press the button again, or if I keep pressing it, I can't do this over here. But if I do one of these, then I'm going to fall to oblivion. Right? That's pretty cool. So I've got my jumping power, right? My jumping is 30,000, probably too much. Let's make it 25,000, right? So again, these are like values you play with. Let's try it one more time, and then we'll fix the crate. Oh, that's pretty good. Oh man, what happened? You can't even move, right? I'm stuck. Problems is what it's called. Problems. These are problems we have to fix, right? How do I make problems, right? Fix the problems. Okay. Our crate. Here's our crate. I'm going to apply ground to the crate, and I'm going to click apply so it goes back to the prefab. And now I press play. And now we almost got our game, right? Oh, okay, good. Oh, no. Right? And let's try that again. And we'll do this little scene. Okay. Oh, okay. Oh, no, I'm stuck. My nose is stuck on the crate. So, is there a problem with my collider? We couldn't test it until we saw it here with the crate and with this whole mess, right? So that's why this can't be, right? Because this is a funny thing. So I need to ignore my face, guys and girls. I need to ignore my face for a second. And there's some tricks to this. There's some things we can do. Let's do another little platform. So I've got my platform. Here's my platform, right? And what I want to do is I want to copy this platform by duplicating it. So I'll duplicate the whole platform. Here it is, right? And I move the platform. Oop, that's not what I wanted to do, right? Where's my, oh no, I duplicated the wrong thing. Hold on, so I didn't want another hero. I wanted another platform. Duplicate the platform. All right, here's my other platform, and I want to move this platform up here like this, and then I'll say, and then I'll stop the day, right? So we see what's going on, right? So here's my platform. I want to jump on this platform, right? So definition of a platformer, right? So let's try that. Whoa. Oh, I did a double jump there, right? So, look. Oh, right? Oh, no. Okay. Pretty good. And let's save everything before we stop, right? And what I want to try and do is fix his face. So I'm going to go back to my hero, and I'm going to go back to my polygon collider. And question for you is, should I use the polygon collider at this point? If I'm not going to do it for his face, might as well use a rectangular collider. So get rid of the polygon. And let's add a new one, right? So I'm going to go physics 2D, go to a box collider, and then edit the box collider for a second. Let's just zoom in here. 2 seconds, guys, and I'll let you go. Here's my box collider. Make this box collider so it's kind of accurate like this as much as possible, right? So bring him down a little bit. Here's my box collider. Same thing for his hat. I don't care about his hat. And his feet. So I want to kind of his feet to sink in a little bit, but not his face. I could use another collider for this, for his face, a circle collider. And if I do that, I can kind of outline a little bit of his face from an enemy collision perspective. Otherwise, his face is going to go into the wall, right? We don't want that. Let's try this out. So if I go here now, ooh, 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 right? Why? Because his face doesn't make any sense for our little hero, right? Oh, whoa, whoa, oh, missed. His face hit, but can't stay, right? Which is a new problem that we've created for ourselves, right? Try this out, ladies and gentlemen, with yourselves. Oh, that worked okay. Oh, that's okay, but now this is a problem. Okay, one more thing to the drawing board. Let's go back to my editor and move this back out to where we're supposed to be, like over here, right? I'm just saying. I'm just trying it out with you guys, right? This is a problem. Now we're going to do this. Now this is the problem. Watch. Ooh. Didn't do that before, right? Because my collider wasn't so in. So I can change the collider, right? This is where we get into that funny thing. So we want his face to go in, but not that much. We want to watch his feet so that when he runs, he's okay. So something like that. Let's try that. Oh, okay, good. All right, good. It still can go into the brick, but not so much. And okay, that's pretty good. I can break the brick and go over here. Oh, good enough. Questions before we depart? So we've made a character. We've adjusted the forces because our forces are out of whack because we have 100 times gravity, right? Which means our mass is multiplied by 100. So the friction between our ground and our player, right, is multiplied by 100. So to get him going, you need to multiply your mass by a bunch, or your force by a bunch. And that's why it's working the way it's working. What's the question? Related to this?
For your velocity, why do you make it public? Why do you need to make it public since we have to go into our code and we have coded and make this?
That's a very good. I love your question, and we're going to talk about that next time we get back together. All right? We'll get back to that.